It's late July, and you're standing at the edge of your raised bed, staring at a pepper plant that should, by all rights, be buried in fruit right now. The stems are sturdy enough, the leaves haven't turned any alarming color, but week after week, the flowers open, hang there for a day or two, and then fall, clean off the plant, one after another, as though the whole thing has simply decided not to bother. You've done everything the tag said: full sun, regular water, a good feed in spring. And still, by midsummer, your pepper plants are more decorative than productive. And the ones at the garden center, the ones you didn't buy, are somehow dripping with fruit through the fence. I've spent more summers than I like to admit blaming myself for this, replanting, switching varieties, spending money on bottles with confident claims on the label. It wasn't until I stopped trying to force the plant and started paying attention to what was happening underneath it that everything changed. What I'm going to share with you today is a simple, homemade soil drench. 3 ingredients, about $1, things you likely have right now. And alongside the recipe, I want to walk you through the honest science of why peppers stall the way they do, and clear up one piece of advice about feeding them that almost everyone gets backwards. Welcome back to Rooted Grace, where we slow down, dig past the noise, and bring real, honest garden wisdom back to the surface. Pour something warm, let's begin. Before any mix matters, you have to understand what you're actually dealing with, because the 2 most common reasons peppers fail in summer are completely different problems, and treating one when you have the other is how whole seasons get wasted.
The first is temperature, and like tomatoes, peppers have a window. Once the heat climbs past about 85 or 90 degrees during the day and the nights stay warm and close, pepper pollen loses viability. The flower opens, finds nothing it can work with, and the plant lets it go. No amount of feeding changes that. What helps is shade cloth over the worst afternoon heat. Deep and even watering so the plant isn't under drought stress on top of temperature stress, and varieties bred for summer performance if your climate runs truly hot. But here is the second reason, and it's the quieter one, the one most gardeners miss entirely. The soil beneath the plant has gone flat, worn out, lifeless. A pepper putting on fruit has a serious appetite, and when the living community in the soil around its roots has collapsed, from heavy watering that drives out oxygen, from synthetic fertilizers applied season after season without any organic matter returned, from soil that's been compacted and baked, that plant simply can't access what it needs, no matter what you sprinkle on top. This is the problem the kitchen mix was born for. And understanding it properly means understanding something about soil that most of us were never taught. Healthy garden soil isn't a growing medium, it's a civilization. The USDA's own soil scientists have documented what lives in a single teaspoon of good garden earth, close to 1 billion bacteria, alongside fungal threads, protozoa, nematodes, and creatures so small they have no common name. Your pepper roots aren't passive tubes waiting for water to carry nutrients up. They are the center of a constant living negotiation. The roots leak sugars on purpose, deliberately feeding the bacteria and fungi nearby, and in return, those microbes unlock minerals bound up in the soil that no amount of chemical fertilizer can replicate. Certain fungi extend thread-like networks far beyond where the roots themselves could ever reach, trading water and phosphorus back to the plant for a small cut of those same root sugars. When this system is working, a pepper plant is far better fed than any bag of granules could manage alone. When the soil goes dead, that whole exchange shuts down. The plant is left trying to drink from an empty well, and that is exactly what your kitchen mix sets out to fix. The first ingredient is 2 tablespoons of unsulfured molasses, or the same measure of raw honey if that's what you have. To the living world in your soil, molasses is the richest possible invitation. It carries easy carbon, the very fuel that soil bacteria consume first, along with potassium, magnesium, and trace iron. Carbon is almost always what living soil is starving for, so the moment it arrives, the microbial population multiplies quickly and gets to work. Keep it to 2 tablespoons. More tips the soil out of balance and produces the sour, off smell that tells you something has gone wrong. The second ingredient is 1 packet of active dry yeast, the ordinary kind from the baking aisle. This is the piece that surprises people most, but the research behind it is real. Yeast cells carry B vitamins, amino acids, and natural compounds called cytokinins that signal plant cells to divide and grow.
In published trials on peppers and related crops, yeast applications produced measurable improvements in plant vigor and yield. And because yeast also becomes food for the bacteria already in your soil, adding it doesn't just introduce one helper, it wakes the entire community at once. The third ingredient is a half cup of plain buttermilk. Buttermilk carries lactic acid bacteria, the same friendly microbes found in yogurt and fermented foods, and it introduces them gently into your soil's living system. It also carries a small amount of calcium, which matters, though perhaps not in the way you've always been told.
Here is the piece of advice that travels farthest in pepper growing circles and does the most damage. When your peppers stall, feed them more. More nitrogen specifically. More of the fast blue crystal kind that promises dark leaves by next week. And the leaves do green up. The stems push new growth. Everything looks for a week or two like it's working. But here is what's actually happening. Heavy nitrogen pushes a pepper plant hard into vegetative growth. Leaves, stems, more leaves, and quietly tells it that now is not the time for fruit. The plant reads an abundance of nitrogen the way it reads rich, early-season soil, as a signal to grow larger before it reproduces. Flower set slows. The fruit that does form may be smaller, with thinner walls and less of the sweetness you're growing them for. What peppers actually need at flowering is a soil that is biologically rich but balanced, one that releases nutrition steadily through microbial activity, rather than dumping it all at once. That is precisely what this mix builds, week by week.
Start with a gallon of water, and before anything else, treat it. Tap water carries chlorine and often chloramine, both put there to kill microbes in the pipes, and both perfectly willing to kill your helpful soil life too. A quarter of a standard vitamin C tablet, crushed into your gallon of water, neutralizes both almost instantly. Stir your yeast and molasses into 2 cups of warm water, around 105 to 115 degrees Fahrenheit, comfortable on the wrist, and let it sit somewhere warm until it foams and smells like fresh bread, 10 to 20 minutes at least, longer if you have it.
Then pour the foamy mixture into your full gallon of treated water and stir in your buttermilk. Apply it as a soil drench only, never a foliar spray, because everything this mix does happens at the root zone. Lightly scratch the top inch of soil around the base of each plant, pour 1 to 1.5 cups per plant onto damp ground, and do it in the early morning or evening when the sun won't drive the moisture straight back out. Once every 2 weeks through steady growth, and every 10 days once flowering peaks.
Don't overdo it, and never use it on tiny seedlings. This is food for established fruiting plants. Steady and gentle wins here every single time.